Live from Times Square, it's Pop Recovery Systems, led by visionary Laura Alexis. Pop Recovery Systems, redefining surgical recovery, with bariatric expert Dr. Eric Smith. Innovating surgical preparation and recovery, Pop Recovery Systems blends nutrition, mental health, and wellness.
Breaking through the noise and changing an industry. Join Laura Alexis and Dr. Eric Smith on the Pop Culture Podcast.
Hello, hello.
What's up? How are
today?
you? Did
I'm
you wear your
good.
glasses? Did you get new glasses?
No, they're the same
Oh,
ones.
okay.
No. But I do want ones like yours that are like clear,
Yeah.
'cause I feel like it'll go with more outfits.
Well, I would say that's why I have mine, but it's because I lost the other pair.
Yeah, because you used to wear black ones, right?
Yeah, they're like
Or
dark blue,
silver. Oh, okay.
but I lost them moving my parents, and I cannot find them. But you know what's interesting is like I feel like things are brighter with these clear frames. I don't know if it's like the color of the frame doesn't get in the way, but um,
So I just want to rewind for a second. You said
okay,
that you lost your glasses
yeah,
helping your parents move. Did you
yeah.
sit them down somewhere and you couldn't find them?
hmm
Oh, Eric.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
I can lose things. I'm not above that for sure, but there was stuff everywhere.
Would
You
you
know, I
feel
had
like
to.
it's a little more common now that you're up there?
It has nothing to do with my age. It has everything to do with in a short amount of time, I was trying to move a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what? Just wait. I
I'll
didn't
be
have to start
fine.
wearing glasses till my mid 40s, and
Really?
Missy, you're wearing glasses now, so I don't know. You might just be escalating much quicker than me.
Well, it's because, yeah, I'm escalating much quicker
Are you
than you.
just you just trying to look smarter? They're clear.
It's actually because I need my eyelashes done, and this is a great way to hide
The
that.
truth comes out. All right. Well,
Well, I'm excited about your guest today.
yes.
Tell me. Tell
I'm
me, tell
excited
me.
about our guest today. Usually this is one of my very best friends, but I'm going to put him on the hot seat today. But
Are you?
I am. But he's a good guy. Really interesting story. So today our guest is Tim Couch, and you know nothing about sports, so I'm going to have to explain who that is.
Well, he was just entered in some Hall of Fame. I
Yes.
was like, oh
Oh,
my
wow.
gosh. I thought there was only like a football Hall of Fame.
Well, there's a College Football Hall of Fame. He was just inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame. We were just recently out in Las Vegas for
Okay.
that. I was
For a
there as his
player? Well, I guess we can
yes,
ask him.
individual
Really?
players. You
That's
can
so
ask him.
cool.
That's why you have somebody on the podcast for them to tell you. But I was actually there as his security, his bodyguard, basically. No, but so he grew up in Kentucky, same state as me, small town, and played at the University of Kentucky. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist and was
Wow.
a Heisman Trophy finalist, and he was the number one draft pick in the NFL draft in 1999 by the Cleveland Browns. So a lot of cool stuff, but I think health and fitness has been really important after his career, and just a really good guy. So we'll get some fun stories out of him and just see where this goes. With Tim, you never know.
I like him already. Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good.
What's
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
what's
Yeah,
up,
no,
buddy?
thanks for being
What's
here.
up, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. I'm
His
excited about the
intro is
podcast here.
always
These
so different for people that he's friends with. Like, if he doesn't, he's like, "Yeah, hey, how you doing, man?" But if
right.
it's like, "Hey, what's up, buddy? What's up,
Yeah.
pal?" Like, he's like, you could just everything switches. Like, he goes from
Sure.
to, "Hey,
Yeah.
what's up?"
I can be professional sometimes, Laura.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. So you grew up in Kentucky,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when did you know that sports was your thing, or did you have parents that were like, sports are going to be your thing? How did that
Yeah.
come
No.
to be?
Yeah, so it was always just kind of my thing. My parents never forced playing sports on me. It was just so I have an older brother named Greg, and he's 4 years older than me, and he was always into sports, playing football and basketball. So I was always, that annoying little brother that wanted to hang around him and his older friends and just playing sports. So they got me into sports, and I started playing at an early age, playing basketball, and probably fourth grade. I think I started playing football in about sixth grade, and just was always just really, kind of naturally athletic and just kind of gravitated towards sports. And it was just, just something that we loved to do growing up in a small town.
That's so amazing. So you said that you played basketball and football. I
Yeah.
noticed that a lot of athletes play multiple
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great thing for athletes to do. I think in today's age, kids get so specialized and they go just one sport and they do it all year round. They train for it year round and they only play one sport. And I truly think that young athletes are missing out on so much playing other sports. Each sport you play, I think makes you better for the other sport. I know for me, playing basketball, I felt like it helped me have, I was a quarterback, so I felt like it had helped me have better footwork, in a pocket. I
Mm.
thought I could move my feet better and I thought I had better balance. And, you learn how to, use your body. Even when you're running the football, it's kind of like dribbling a basketball, going to the basket. You're making cuts and you're trying to, dodge guys and do spin moves and do all these kind of things. So, I think it really, like I said, each sport kind of helps you for the next one. And, I wish more kids in today's age would play multiple sports.
Yeah, I think Tim, when we grew up, we just played whatever the season was.
That's it.
Our
Yeah.
our
Yep.
parents drug us from one field to the other,
It's-
and
yeah.
it's hard for kids to even do that these days. Like it seems like if they want to play baseball, their coach expects them to play fall ball
Yeah.
Right.
and off-season ball, and I think they force kids too early to focus on something they don't really know what they're good at or what they're passionate about. You know?
I totally agree. Yeah, and I think also you have to worry about getting burnt out. I think kids,
Yeah.
like you said, especially with baseball, they play so many games, and you're playing, for your school, then you're playing travel ball in the summer, fall ball. You're playing, pretty much year round, and for these young pitchers that are just out there throwing, you see these young kids having surgeries on their elbow and shoulders already at such
Mm.
an early age, and I just think I think it's a wrong way to go, and I just, like we said, I think playing multiple sports benefits you in so many different ways.
Yeah,
So
I
my
agree.
daughter, my daughter Isabella, so Isabella Eric just started playing basketball, and
Oh
because she's
man.
tall and everything.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just like, only reason, true story, I put her in basketball is because we just had a podcast with Todd Wagner, and he was like, yeah, you should put your kids in sports so they learn discipline and they learn it's not all about them. And I was like, oh, that's why it took me so long to realize that, because I never played
Well,
sports.
Tim,
So I'm
let me tell
putting
you
Isabella
exactly
in
why she put her
sports.
in sports. Because Todd said he grew up playing sports. Todd's a big IU fan. And
Yeah.
Todd said sports are so important in life because it teaches you it's not all about me. And
Right.
Laura says, oh, maybe that's why I didn't learn that lesson until I was an adult.
So I was
So
like,
now,
Isabella's going to basketball.
now we know
Put
the
her in
truth.
basketball the next day, right?
She leaves. It's like, Isabella, you're playing sports.
Yeah, I was like,
Oh
just
man.
pick one. And so my husband, he's like, if she's going to play, she's going to be the best. He's from Mexico. She's going to be the
Yeah.
best. She's going to learn competition. She's going to practice 20 hours a day. And I was like, no, she's going to have fun.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, that's
I
great.
was like, she's not our ticket. Okay. Like,
But I think for Laura, we both Tim and I both grew up in small towns in Kentucky, but in all reality, my town was small. Tim's town was really small. We in Kentucky, we talk about Eastern Kentucky. So if you look at the state of Kentucky, the east of Kentucky, I was the northeast, he was the southeast, and folks from where Tim's from and when we say we're from Eastern Kentucky, they're like, you ain't from Eastern Kentucky. We're from Eastern
No.
Kentucky.
Y'all
So,
are from the big city there, man.
yeah, and I was in it from a town of 20, 25,000 people, but to them, it was a large area. I mean, for you growing up where you did, to put some context to that, you know, if you weren't playing sports, you're probably getting into a lot of trouble. I know you got into some,
Yeah.
but it would have been a lot
Yeah.
worse.
I mean, no question. I think sports keeps you out of trouble. Like you said, we went from one sport to the next, so we didn't have time to get in a lot of trouble. But I think that's it's so good for kids. We talked about the discipline and learning how to just get along with people from different races and different backgrounds and everything. I think it teaches you so much, and it's just a great thing to do for kids. It teaches you how to work hard. How to set goals for yourself, discipline, and how to deal with adversity because you play sports, you're going to have rough times. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to lose games. You're going to make bad plays. You're going to have to, learn how to deal with that kind of stuff at an early age. So I think it really helps you a lot.
I'm
So
really
let's.
glad you said that. So sorry, Eric, I'm gonna say
No,
this
you're
really quick.
good.
So I'm glad you said like play with different races and stuff. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So when my friend Katya set me up first time with a call with Dr. Eric Smith, she sent me like a bio, and the only
Oh
thing I
boy.
saw was that he was from Kentucky. And I was like, I'm not talking to this guy from Kentucky. Like, has he even ever seen a black person before? I was expecting
Oh
like
man.
this cowboy hat, a Confederate flag, like in the
Oh geez.
background, we ended up talking for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I've gotten to know him now over the last year. And man, what a one of the best people that I've met in my whole life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I
Yeah.
think that that's so great that you talk about that and that we talk to people from Mississippi and Kentucky
Right.
because there is this stigma that if you're from these southern states or you know what I mean, that there
Sure.
is a lack of diversity, and I love that sports gives you that, and I think that that's a message we should spread to get in
Hmm.
sports because I got into a lot of trouble growing up, a lot, and I think that it's because I didn't know how to work on a team. I thought everything was about me, and so
Right.
I think that the sports aspect is a common denominator for success.
I'll tell you a very brief story that relates to that. So I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, and we didn't have a lot of black people that went to my high school, but the city school there were more. And I went to college to play sports. I went as a place kicker to Marshall University, and I met Tim will remember this guy, but I met this guy named Melvin Cunningham who was there. He was Mr. Football in the state of West Virginia, but he was from a place called Matewan, West Virginia, which is actually
Hmm.
not far from where Tim's from. It's just across the border, and that's where my dad's from. And it is in the middle. I mean, it is a very poor area. And
Mhm.
so I went and told him, "Hey, my dad's from Matewan. I used to go there every Christmas to see my grandmother, and we had something in common." And I literally just said, "We should live together. We should room together." And he's like, "Okay." Is the countryest black guy I'd ever met in my life, man. He was just a trip. And he said, "Okay, let's do it." And I remember somebody asked me, like, "Why did you decide to live with him?" And I said, "Because I went to school with about three black people in my entire high school. Like, I knew going to college was learning about life as much as it was learning what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I knew that that's something that I needed to do. I needed to understand other cultures, other races, and things like that. And it was the best decision that I ever made. And I don't think it was calculated when I made that decision, but after the fact, I know that that had such a large role. So Tim, I want to kind of go forward for everybody that's listening because I get to hear these stories because we're friends. But like, what was it like if to paint that picture? You're in a town. I mean, what's the population of Hyden, Kentucky?
350 people.
So, and
Oh
please,
my gosh.
Yeah.
please tell Laura. I mean, Laura is sending me pictures today. She's in Costa Rica right now, and how beautiful it is, and it's freaking
Oh
cold. How
man.
cold is it here right now? Right?
Oh
And
geez.
and I said, so there's a town in Hyden, Kentucky. This is a town, like it's a name of a town called what, Tim?
Hell for certain. Yeah. Hell for certain.
And
Yeah.
how is it spelled?
It's hell for certain. It's like it's yeah. But everyone thinks that's not a real place, but it really is. It's a
It's a
place in my
real place.
hometown. It's a real town. It's a little dirt road, little winding road up a mountain. Takes you about 45 minutes once you get off the main road to get there. And but it is. It's a real place. Yeah.
Is
Yes.
that where you grew up?
I grew up in a town called Hyden. Just so I didn't grow
Okay,
up in
okay.
Helperson, but
300 and
close.
some people though.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I want to paint that picture for obviously you and for some of our listeners that may not know, across the country that may not know Tim as well. And what was that like? Because obviously you started playing sports and Tim was the leading scorer in basketball in the state
Wow.
as well. He could have played college basketball or football, but obviously a lot of tension starts coming to Hyde
Hmm.
for you to play college football. And Tim won't say this, but he was the highest recruited football player in his class in the country.
But how did
In
they find you?
well,
Because you were
Good
hiding,
that's what
question.
I'm
right?
getting at. Is what was that like
Yeah,
being in a small town and the attention that it
Yeah.
brought, and how
yeah,
how did coaches come to see you, and how did that all go
Yeah.
right.
down?
It really was amazing. When I look back at it now, because this was obviously way before social media, but, so word of
Yeah,
mouth. You asked a great question there, Laura. How did they find out about me in that small town? And I think it was when I would in the summer I would go to camps, right? I would go to all these different football camps, Tennessee's football camp, Auburn's football camp, and go to these different schools, and all these coaches would see me in person, and then obviously
Mm.
they so you kind of get out there like that, and then just your play, I kind of you're on the newspapers, on TV and all that kind of stuff, and kind of word of mouth, and it spreads. But it was an amazing time, man. I remember being in that little small town, and all these famous college football coaches would be in the hallways of my high school, in between classes. There would be Steve Spurrier, or Joe Paterno, or Lou Holtz, and all these coaches, and it was an amazing time. And we had so many people coming out to our games that it was unbelievable, man. Everywhere we went, the games were sold out. People were just like standing room only. And we played a game in Lexington one time my senior year, and I think we had about 10 or 15,000 people or so at a high school football game against Fort Thomas
Wow.
Highlands there. And yeah, so it really was an amazing time. It was so much fun, for me, obviously, but for my teammates as well, because they were on the big stage with me, and I think it was something
Yeah.
really cool for them, and they were getting a lot of eyes on them as well. So a lot of those kids went and played college football too, just from that exposure that we were getting. So it benefited all of us, and we were just, young kids having a great time, and enjoying the ride.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that one thing I love about all of the friends that Eric has introduced me to so far is that you guys never talk about yourselves as being the only reason why it's a good thing, but it's like your platform, it's who you've been able to help, it's the impact that
Right.
you've made. And I think that that's so important because you were like, yeah, it was great for me. The way that you talked about it even made me want to ask you, so what, were they there for you, or I don't understand.
Yeah,
And I
I
love
think
that.
obviously playing football, it's the ultimate team sport, and the
Yeah.
quarterback gets so much of the attention always. He's always going to get the headlines, but a quarterback is only going to be as good as the talent that is around him. And and I learned that. I had great talent around me in high school and college, and I get to the NFL, and don't have a whole lot of talent around me. So it's just kind of how it works for a quarterback. So I think that you learn that early on playing football, that you have to appreciate your teammates, and understand that you can only be as good as the people around you.
Yeah.
So Tim, when you went to Cleveland, I think obviously you were the number one draft pick for
Right.
Cleveland, but I think and Cleveland is a storied franchise. It's been around for a long time, but I think some people who may not be diehard Cleveland fans but are big NFL fans sometimes forget that Cleveland hadn't had a team for X
Right.
amount of years prior to that. So
Yeah.
what had happened, Laura, is Cleveland, the owner of Cleveland had moved the team they went to Baltimore, right?
So Baltimore became the
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens. Yeah.
So that's how the Baltimore Ravens started. So the Cleveland Browns were non-existent. The franchise moved, and that happens sometimes in professional
Wow.
sports. So Cleveland was restarting the franchise. The colors were the same, the name was the same, but they were literally starting from scratch the year Tim got drafted as the number one overall draft
But how
pick
they get the first pick?
because they were
Yeah.
the brand new team. And so
Oh.
I have some serious questions, but I have to tell you a really funny story. So this few weeks in December, some of us we went to New York for the weekend. We've done this past couple years. It's just, the lights are up and it's always pretty. And so we're in Madison Square Garden for Bocelli was in concert. And we're walking in, there's like 8 of us. And I looked at Tim. I was talking about being at a basketball game there 1 year ago. And Tim's like, I was here for the draft. And I'm like, holy cow, I forgot. Because the draft moves around now. But back then it was always in New York, right?
Right. Yeah, it was in Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And then he tells me, he's like, let me tell you about signing my contract. And I'll let him finish the story.
Right. So, yeah, before the draft, the day before the draft, my agent was in talks with the Browns, and the Browns had said, they were trying to decide between me and a couple other players, and they had said that, because kind of back then, you remember, Eric, it was the kind of thing that when you would get drafted, a high draft pick like that, you would hold out and you would miss a lot of training camp trying to renegotiate a
Right.
contract and all this. It was before,
It
now the
wasn't
contracts are.
predetermined salaries then, was it?
Exactly. Now, now the contracts are structured where you get drafted, so there's really no negotiating those rookie deals. But back then, you could negotiate them, and so the Browns had said, they want whoever they pick to have the contract signed, and you're ready to go, and you're not going to miss any training camp. So we're like, okay, we'll do it, and they went all through the night negotiating this contract. So the draft was, whatever time it was the next day, 11, 12 o'clock, and so we get to Madison Square Garden, and my agent comes to me, he's like, listen. We got a deal done last night. They want you to sign it before you go out on the stage. And I'm like, okay. He's like, well, let's go somewhere private where no one can see us because we don't want to give away who's going to be the number one pick. So he's like, and right there was the men's bathroom. So we we literally like just go into the men's room and sign the biggest contract in the history of the NFL for a rookie right there in Madison Square Garden. So
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. So you talk about a life-changing event, like obviously I grew up in a small town. We didn't have a lot of,
Yeah.
we weren't blessed financially or whatever. So I'm I'd only, graduated high school in 1996 and I'm going to the NFL in 1999. So my life turned around really quickly. I was living in a dorm at the University of Kentucky, and all of a sudden I'm signing this big contract in a life-changing event. And sure enough, it happened right there in the men's room in Madison Square Garden. So yeah.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
amazing. I have a
Yeah.
question for you. When you're going through, or what you've seen, because I'm sure you're now involved with so many different other players, right? Going through sports, it sounds like, or maybe your
Yeah.
kids. I heard a conversation you and Eric were having. Do
Yeah.
you guys emphasize about like what to eat and in between like the training? It's all about the training, right? Killing the legs. I heard that. But how do you guys approach the nutrition part of it, the mental health part of it? Like, is there a place for that in sports?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the nutrition is almost the biggest piece of it. It's probably, 80% of it because, you can go train all you want and you can work as hard as you want, but if you're not putting the right things in your body and recovering and sleeping well and doing those things, you're going to break down. You're going to end up getting injuries and you're not going to be able to, have the energy levels that you need to sustain to go out and work hard each and every day like you want to. So what you put in your body is extremely important. And obviously, I tell my kids that I've got an older son who's playing college football right now, and I've got a younger son who's a freshman in high school playing football right now. So, I
Okay.
talk to them, since they were young about, what they put in their body, taking the right supplements at the right time, eating the right foods that's going to fuel your body. So that's such a big piece of it, for an athlete. And, it's just as important as, like I said, the work you're putting in. It's just as important as anything you're doing in the weight room, out on the field, trying to make yourself better. You have to take care of yourself and really, be cautious about what you put in your body because, there's so many different supplements out there and so many things to choose from. You really, you have to educate yourself on what to eat and what supplements to take and all those things to keep yourself going at an optimal level. And, it's something I've been fortunate enough to learn over the years. I've had a great opportunity in the NFL to work with great trainers and nutritionists and learned so much about that. When I was in college, I really didn't know much about, obviously nutrition and things like that. I just thought, we're going to go in the weight room and we're going to work our tails off, we're going to get as big and strong as we can. And then when I got to the NFL, I learned, it's more about longevity. It's more about, you taking care of your body and getting, going to sleep at a certain time every night and really, helping yourself recover and giving yourself the best chance to have a great day the next day. So I learned so much from those people that I had an opportunity to work with, and I try to pass that down to my kids and younger athletes when I get a chance to talk to them as well.
And what about mental health? Is there a place
Yeah,
for that, like when in NFL
absolutely.
and some of like, do they be? And another thing I want to ask in the middle of that question is, I don't know much about football. I think you guys get like touchdowns and stuff like that, right? So I'm not gonna say I'm an expert, but I saw some movies like the Will Smith movie, Concussion, and then I saw some like
Right.
documentaries and stuff like that. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that around that time, maybe people were like, oh my gosh, like mentally, it might have been a little bit like, how do they address mental health in sports, especially like you came from a small town and then you all
Yeah.
of a sudden you're, like there's so many transformations that are happening.
Yeah, I think mental health is huge, and I didn't understand that until I got to the NFL. And obviously, playing quarterback in the NFL, there's a lot of pressure that comes
Mhm.
along with playing that position. And I'd never really talked to anybody about mental health or how important that was. No one had ever talked to me about it until I got to that NFL level, and
Wow.
they had us working with sports psychologists. And I
Mm.
that really changed how I approached everything. And just because I had never dealt with, failure really as an athlete. Everything I'd done through high school and college was just this upward trend, this climb straight to the top. And I get to the NFL, and I'm a rookie. And I'm on an expansion team, and I'm getting beat up, and my body's, I'm taking all these hits, and we're not winning games, and I'm not playing at the level that I'm used to playing at. And I was breaking down more mentally than I was physically in that rookie year. And I went to my
Mm.
coaches and I said, "Listen, I'm losing confidence. I don't feel like myself, and this is getting hard for me. Like really hard." So they put me with a sports psychologist who taught me how to deal with adversity. Because I think that's something that's very important. It's easy to wake up when you're playing great and everybody's writing great articles about you and saying all these amazing things about you. But what happens when it goes the other way? When everybody's
Yeah.
saying, well, why'd we pay this guy all this money? Why'd we draft him number one in the draft? And we could have drafted all these other players. And that takes you can say you don't read the papers or you don't listen to this or that, but you hear it. You
Yeah.
absolutely you
Yeah.
hear it. And it takes a toll on you, and it makes you second guess yourself. And because at that level, there's so many great players out there. Like I said, it was the number one pick in the draft, and there were so many other players they could have chosen, but they chose me. And you feel that pressure every Sunday when I would go out there and play a game. I felt like I had to prove myself, like, oh, this is why they drafted me first in the draft because I can do this or that, and then when you don't do that, you feel that pressure as well. And you feel that disappointment and you feel like you're letting people down because, when I got there, like Eric mentioned earlier, the Browns had been out of the league for 3 years. They became Baltimore Ravens. So when they came back into the league, I was the first player picked in their new franchise. So man, you talk about pressure from, the fan base, the media, even my own teammates. My teammates, they're looking like, hey man, you're the number one pick in the draft. You're supposed to be the man.
You're
You're
supposed
supposed
to
to
be the
be out there.
savior of the
But
franchise.
exactly. And
Yeah.
and I'm a young kid. I just turned 21 that year. And so I'm just trying to figure it out. And and like I said, I was getting beat up, and I was so like getting back, to your question, the mental health side of it is so extremely important for athletes and if and for anybody, no matter what profession you're in or what you're doing. I think you have to take care of yourself mentally and understand that it is totally okay to talk to someone about your mental health. I think as men, especially, sometimes we're like, I'm, too macho. I don't want to talk to somebody about my feelings or how do I get through this situation or that situation. And I think if you can get past that and understand that it's so helpful, it's so beneficial to talk to a professional about what you're feeling, what emotions that is bringing up in you, and how to handle those. I think you can really grow leaps and bounds from that from those conversations.
Yeah, I think it's so true. And I read an article. Literally, I think it was today or yesterday. You may have seen this, Tim, where Nick Saban was talking about he's had multiple NFL coaches tell him that he feels like they are now that they feel like they are now getting players that don't know how to deal with adversity,
Yeah,
because
Mm.
in college when things get tough they just go to another one. And he
absolutely.
feels like that these guys, because they can transfer anytime they want, they've obviously lost some of
Oh.
the motivation to perform because of NIL, so they don't even have to perform to earn. They earn before
Mm.
they perform. But now, if, well, I got beat out by this guy. I was the superstar in high school. I was the 5-star. I got beat out. And instead of working to beat him out, I'll just transfer somewhere else. And if I get beat out there, I'll transfer somewhere else. And even if they do find that opportunity to showcase their skills and now they get a chance in the league, they don't know in NFL it doesn't work that way. You're under a contract. And
Right.
it really made me realize that, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
It does.
They've now held off dealing with adversity even longer than normally they would have beforehand.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about that. And today's college football world is so different with this transfer portal and the NIL and all the money these kids are making. And
What
it's
is NIL?
so NIL is it stands for name, image, and likeness. And so college athletes never were allowed to get paid before. When did it start, Eric? Maybe 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think so,
So yeah, something
roughly.
like that. So they passed a law that said these kids can start making money now.
Oh
On
wow.
their so now it's just pay for play, and colleges are going out and giving. There's kids that are making $4 or $5 million a year in college to
In
play college football
college?
now.
Before they show
Yeah,
up.
before
And
they even
and
show up.
and
Yeah.
these kids probably, these colleges were making a lot of money, and they probably they deserved something, but nobody really knows what to do with
But
the
$4
rules.
million?
Oh, there's a quarterback that's going to Michigan that's supposedly going to get about 10.
Yeah, he
And
got 10. Yeah.
it's like the wild wild west, because they were supposed to get money for name, image, and likeness, but what they did is
Right.
they created these collectives. So these
Yeah.
colleges just create a collective, so people give the college in this collective fund, and then the college just divvies out money. Oh, I think you deserve 2 million, and I think you deserve a
Right.
million. As I saw where
And
the kid coming to Kentucky for basketball next year, the Johnson kid, he's got
yeah.
$1 million and a
Yeah.
Cybertruck guaranteed
Right.
before he's not
And
even playing. He's still in high school.
exactly. And you saw, I'm sure you've seen where I think it starts next year where there's the revenue sharing where each team's
Right.
going to get $20 million. I guess is it SEC and Big Ten? Is that who it is
I
that's
think
getting the
so.
20 million?
I
So
think so.
they'll have $20 million that they can pass out to their athletes across all sports any way they choose to. And so it's now it's now really professional sports. Teams are
Right.
actually hiring general managers in college now
So I
to
can
go out
have a
and
backup plan other than building my
Get her
business to
back
put
there
my
to
son, my
get her
two
back
year
there to
old.
basketball practice, Laura.
yes, get her on
Laura's
the
going to go
court.
back to her husband and say, "You know what? She is going to practice 20 hours now."
That's exactly right. This is a great
You
idea.
know what? New
Yeah,
plan.
new plan. Yeah,
But
That is crazy though.
I
That's
want
it
crazy.
is.
I want to fast forward a little bit to play off the mental health, because obviously, and again, you played in the day where, man, you guys, and the way expansion teams even then were different than how they build them now. Back
Yeah,
then, they basically built them with everybody's leftovers, if I'm not mistaken.
that's
I
right.
mean,
Yeah,
at least expansion teams now are built with players that,
Wow.
and that's no criticism to your former teammates. I mean, you had
yeah,
great teammates, but it wasn't the level of talent. It was different the way teams decided to release players and go in the expansion draft and things like that. But you were getting beat. Like, I mean, you've told me stories. You got beat so bad, you're ready to walk to the wrong sideline. You probably had concussions, and they'd give you some smelling salts and just put you back on the field.
Oh my
yeah.
Nowadays,
God.
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
go through concussion protocol and things like that.
yeah.
And obviously, you didn't get to play as long as you hoped for, because you went through terrible, you had, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you had 2 shoulder surgeries that I don't know that anybody come back from one,
Yeah.
of the kind that you had. What's that like when and you still had a great career, but what's that like when football comes to an end? And I've talked to other athlete friends before too, whether it's a 15-year career or a
Right.
7-year career, when there's been so much of your life dedicated to that, and that's taken away. Either you chose it, it was chosen for you because of injury, or somewhere in between. What's that like, and especially from a mental health standpoint?
I think that was probably the hardest couple years of my life. That transition from when I had to retire from football, because just like you said, I think you dedicate your entire life to be this athlete, and you and you're so into it, and you have to put so much of your life into it, you can't see past what's next. All you can think about is, I got to get better every day that I wake up. I got to do something to improve as an athlete to stay in this, or they're going to bring in somebody younger and with a stronger arm or faster, bigger, whatever. So you have to prove yourself every day. And so that's all I'm focused on. And going into the league as a number one pick, I truly thought I would play 15 to 20 years in the league. I thought I was going to be one of those guys that they were going to have to kick me out. They're like, okay, you got to go home. You've played too long, because I just love the game. Football is it's who I am and who I was. And so when that ended for me, I'm looking around like, who am I? What do I do next? Like, I'm as an athlete, I'm so used to having a schedule every day. Okay, at 7 o'clock, I got a team meeting. Then we're going to lift weights, and we're going to eat lunch, and then we're going to have a walkthrough. Then we're going to go out and practice, and we're going to come back and watch more film. And then I'm going to go get massage, and I'm going to go get in the hot tub and recover and do all these things, take care of my body once all practice and everything's over, and preparing yourself mentally for the games and all that kind of stuff. So now there's just no schedule, and I don't know what to do. So I moved down to Florida. I was living in Fort Lauderdale, away from family and everything. And I just really went through a dark period there of about 1 or 2 years where, like you said, I had two shoulder surgeries, and I just had another one at that point. I was recovered from a shoulder surgery. I was just laying around the house feeling, bad for myself, just feeling, just playing, a little pity party for myself, and just didn't know what to do, man. And all of a sudden, the thing that changed for me is when my oldest son was born, when Chase was born, there in Fort Lauderdale. It kind of it refocused me and gave me a purpose. Like, okay, now I'm dad, so that's going to be who I am now. That's going to be my role. But still, without football, it was kind of I had to work on myself a lot, and try to find a new path of where am I going with this thing, here from here on out. But like I said, Chase being born really helped a lot. Just got so involved in being a dad and being with him every day. And then we moved back to Kentucky and got around family, and that really helped a lot. Just being back home, and then then things kind of, you get some business stuff going on, and you get some new things in your life that kind of get your attention and get you working on something and get you focused on something each and every day. But yeah, those first couple years of when I had to retire were just really, really tough mentally. And I don't miss those couple years at all, man. Like I said, I was
Yeah.
going through a couple surgeries and dealing with a lot of things mentally. So it was a rough deal.
Yeah, I'm
So I'm
sure.
so I'm so glad you shared about the surgeries because POP is a preparation and recovery system for high risk surgery, and what we're finding is that eventually we want to get into orthopedic surgery and cancer reconstruction surgery because there is like a mental thing that happens when your body works one way, then you have to have
Hmm.
surgery and there's a recovery process, and it's
Yeah.
just so important to tie in all of those multidisciplinary specialties together. And I feel like you kind of were a testimony to that because it was like a mixture of everything, life changes, shoulder
Hmm.
surgery, and all of that. So what did you so what do you do now with your life?
Yeah, so my brother and I, when I moved back to Kentucky, we started a wealth management company called Meridian Wealth Management. And
Okay.
it's really growing and taking off, and just it's a great business for us. We're also in the bourbon industry as now, with a
Oh,
bourbon company called Limestone Farms. So that's going well, and then just a lot of other investments and things that we do kind of on the side as well, with some real estate and some things like that. But yeah, so we're just busy with that, growing that business. Our financial business is in several different states now. We're in California and Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arizona, and some state, and Texas as well now. So that business is growing and keeping us busy, and just busy with my kids as well. Like I said earlier, my son's playing college football. He plays at Holy Cross up around the Boston area. So during the
oh,
season,
okay.
I'm traveling to go to his games, and then my youngest son going to his high school games. And yeah, just staying busy, playing a lot of golf with Eric,
Yeah.
traveling around with
I was
Eric a
gonna
little
say
bit.
hanging
So
out with Eric.
hanging out with Eric, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, if I'm gone, Laura, it's usually with Tim and Greg, his brother that he mentioned. That's usually
yeah.
that's usually where I am more often than not. I
But
think it's just an example though, because so many times you see people who are former athletes, and and then you see them go into other business ventures and things like that. And I think to me, it brings up kind of two sides to that story. Yes, it's easy to see the 5 and 10 years down the road of like, oh man, they're successful. They have car dealerships, or they have wealth management companies, or they're doing TV. Obviously Tim did TV for a while, and because, and I'll say this because you probably won't, but as a testament of what a good father you are, you gave a lot of that opportunity up because you wanted to be present for your kids in sports, and because that does take away a lot because of the travel and the demands and stuff.
yeah,
And you were great at it. But it's easy to see that with the athletes. I do believe the reason that you guys are successful at that is because you're driven. You don't become good athletes by not being driven. I don't
right,
care how talented someone is. I don't care how gifted someone is. All those people you're playing against are gifted. They're
yeah,
all talented. You have to be driven to separate yourself from everybody else. And I think that's applicable in life in general. If you want something, you have to want it back worse than anybody else that wants what you do. But don't forget, there's a story in between. There's that time that, oh gosh, I lost what I really wanted, or what
hmm
what defined me for a long time. And so, you
yeah.
know, athletes are no different, where they deal with recovering from, man, I lost my passion, number one, but now I'm going to refocus that and use my passion and my drive to go after something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I learned during that process that, money and success and those things like that, that doesn't truly make you happy at the end of the day. Because, when my passion, like you said, was taken away from me, I didn't care about any of that. You know what I mean? I didn't
Right.
care about it. All I wanted to do was play football again. And that's it. I didn't care about anything else, the contracts or any of that stuff. I just wanted to
Mm.
be myself again because I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be in the huddle with the guys. I wanted to be out there in the summer workouts and the heat, lifting weights and training and running and it's just what I love to do. I love to play sports and I love to play football. I love to be around the guys. And when that was taken away, man, that was you realize what's important in life, and it's those relationships and that drive that you talked about, that's that burning desire to be successful at something. Then you get, like I said, you get other things going on in your life. After a couple years, and had the broadcasting career for, I did that for 6 or 7 years, and that was a lot of fun. And you trying to kind of get back into the game a little bit that way, and then you get into the business world as well, and that gets competitive. And I need, for me, I always needed something that's competitive and it's going to keep me motivated. And that's really how I got so into the health and fitness area, is because I could wake up every day and I was going to challenge myself with workouts, and I think
Mhm.
that really got me going. And not only made me feel better physically, it helped me mentally as well. I think you get so much benefit from training and working out, and you just get those, you get that, you set a goal for yourself and you feel like you're accomplishing something with those workouts. And, so I think health and fitness has been a huge part of my life post football. That's really helped me. And just in relationships, I think being around friends and family and socializing and all those things, I think is very important for the mental health aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, I'll say this before we wrap up, and you talking about being in those dark places and stuff, and you did that for me. Gosh, 7 8 years ago, and I was in a really low time in my life, and you were
Yeah.
one of those guys that. mm, I'm not going to go there, but you reached
Oh.
out to me, man. And
Yeah.
I thank you for that. And we all need that. You
Yes,
got to
sir.
surround yourself by people who care about you. And as men, it's hard when you're low
Yeah.
and when you're struggling. We don't speak up for ourselves. We think that we're tough and we can handle it on our own. And I
Yeah.
remember times when you're like, "Come on, we're getting
Yeah.
out and we're going to go
Well,
dinner, and you're going to
it's,
you're going to pull your big boy pants up, and this is all going to be okay." So
yeah.
not
Well, I
only do I appreciate that for you doing that for me, but I think it's important for to me to share that it happens to all of us.
Absolutely. I think my experiences from, dealing with that post football career where I was in that dark place, I understood kind of what you were going through. And I understood, the symptoms of, that you're not feeling well. You don't want to go, you don't want to get out of the house. You're having a hard time with this situation. And I think, if I had someone there for me at that time saying, we're going to do this together. I'm with you, man. Let's go get some dinner. Let's go to a game. Let's travel. Let's play golf. Let's do something, whatever, creating distractions for you, keeping your mind, in a positive place. I think that's really why, I kind of, jumped right into that with you, is because I'd been there myself and I knew what you were kind of going through and wanted to help you out as much as possible. And, I think it really grew our friendship as well. I think
Yeah.
we were really good friends before that, but after that, we became, even closer. And, now we're best of friends, and do everything together. So I think that I'm really happy that not happy that that happened to you, but I'm happy
That's
we were
right.
able to go through that together and get through it together.
Oh, I
But
mean, Laura, talk about it all the time. The best blessings come from the toughest times. So,
that's right.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Tim, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your
Absolutely.
story. I love when manly men get vulnerable. So I love that. I just think it's going to be so good for our listeners, and it's a subject that's very close to me. And I would love for you to share, if people were curious about all the different things that you do, where can they find you? Where can they keep up with you? Where can they stalk you?
Yeah, you can stalk me. Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find me on there. I'm not huge on not I don't post a whole lot on social media, but I try to be active on there and keep up with that. But yeah, that's you can find me on there and keep up with kind of what I'm doing with the bourbon industry now and the financial business, and try to, we're talking Kentucky football on there every now and then, and doing some fun things like that.
yep.
Awesome. Well,
Recent college
congratulations
football Hall
on
of Fame
your
inductee right here.
Yeah, I was
Pretty
gonna say
cool.
Yeah,
congratulations on joining
thank
the
thank
Hall
you
of
so
Fame
much.
and a
Yeah,
great
I appreciate
career.
that.
And thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed being on with you guys. Thank you for having me.
All
We hope
right.
that you enjoyed this episode of the Pop Culture Podcast, and we'll see you next time.